Hello everyone, welcome once again to Prof. Dan Tutorials. Now today's video is going to be like a workshop, and I am here to simplify the process of filling out Form I-485, which is the adjustment of status stage. You want to make sure you fill this form correctly to avoid costly mistakes. Now, mine is to ensure your path to U.S. permanent residency is smooth and straightforward. So, sit tight, don't miss these essential tips and insights as I walk you through all the parts of this form. Take note, this form is available for free on the USCIS official website. You will find the link in the description section of this video. At the time you're watching this video, make sure you go into this link and download the latest version and open it up and look through the way I'm filling it and use it to fill yours as well. You know, again, this is a workshop just to walk you through any complexities, or there are certain aspects of the form that might appear confusing. So you want to make sure you do it right. Now, why this form can be used by different categories of immigration, specifically, I am focusing on those in the EB2NIW or EB1A category. It's my belief that those in other categories can still find the information in this stepwise guide very useful. Before we start, don't forget to hit the subscription button if this is your first time, and like this video, comment, let's help the community, visit my Instagram page, like and comment and share with your loved ones, and as well make sure you visit our website at www.SaintDanielsGlobal.com, where you'll be able to see all the services we offer. Back to the form. As you can see on your screen, I believe now you've downloaded the form and you've opened it also on your system, and we can look into this all together. Now, first thing you should take note of is the top right-hand corner of this form on page 1. And here you will see the expire date, which is February 28, 2026. So that means be mindful of that to know if you are still filling the current form or not. And at the bottom page, you will see the edition. That's when this latest form was released, February 21, 2023. You also see the counting of the page 1 of 20. So you want to make sure you are doing the right thing. Now, there are ways of filling this form. Some can decide to open it up on their computer screen or their iPad, you know, as a PDF document and fill it in that way using their keyboards, while some might decide to print it out and use their hand to fill it in. Use the one that works best for you, although I would prefer the one you have to type in, because it's easy to, you know, make amendments, or in case there is mistake, you want to avoid all that. When you try to fill through the, you know, typewriting format, after you're done, you still have to print it out, you know, and append your handwritten signature. Your signature must not be electronic, so make sure you take note of that. And I will take you through all of these parts. When you print out, also ensure that the bottom page, you can see a scanning code and the page number count. Make sure it appears clearly when you print out. All right, so to start with, part 1. Part 1 is about information about you, person applying for lawful permanent residence. Remember that you, the principal applicant, will fill the form. If you have derivative or dependents, e.g. your spouse or your child, they will each also fill the form. So take note of that. 1A is family name. That's easier. You want to put in your family name. You put in your family name. If mine is Ade, I can put that in. Given name, that's your first name. Mine is Dan. A middle name, if you have a middle name, you put it. If you don't, you leave it or put not applicable. Again, take note, certain areas that doesn't apply to you, you can leave it blank, or preferably you can put not applicable N/A. Other names you have used since birth. Now, if applicable, if you have used other names before, you want to also fill it in. For example, your spouse might have a different last name before you guys got married. So if it's your spouse that is filling this form, he or she in particular now might want to put in family name. That was the name she bears before. But if you are the man and you don't have previously used names, you don't need to fill that part, 2A to 2C. And other information about you, still on page 1 of 20, number 5, date of birth. So ensure you follow the order, month, day, and year. So if you just click on the box, you can put, say, for example, born in January, I can put 01, and the day was 13th, and 2020. So, and sex, are you a male or a female? You want to check the box. Well, for this, it's limited to just these two gender. You just have to choose either of the two. You can leave it blank. City or town of birth, you want to include that. Now on page 2, still on part 1, question 8, country of birth. Put your country of birth there. If you're from Jamaica, for example, you put it there. Question 9, country of citizenship or nationality. If it's the same as your country of birth, Jamaica, you put it there. If it's different, you put the right one. Number 10 says alien registration number, a number, if any. If you have, you put. If you don't have it, you leave it as non-applicable. Now, take notes. For those of you that applied for EB2 NIW or EB1A, for example, and you have been approved, you will receive an approval notice, which is the form I-797. On that approval notice, you will find there a number that will be assigned to you. Now, take note that this A number is a unique 7 to 9-digit number that is assigned to a non-citizen when you initiate an immigration case with USCIS. And this number is used to identify and keep track of your immigration records throughout the various immigration processes. So you will find that again on that form I-797, approval or receipt notice. So put in the number, A is there already, include the numbers, and that is it. So question 11, part 1, USCIS online account number. So for some of you, you filed a petition before online, those that are available and possible through online means, and you have an online account. So if you do, you want to put it there. If you don't, you probably want to put maybe not applicable, you could put not applicable. Again, there are some of these boxes that you might not be able to type in, just very few of them, maybe about 0.1%. In such case, if you are using a PDF open on your laptop, you can click on the text box, this T, and put it there, and you can easily type in case if it doesn't work. That's another way to go about it. And so we have it there. So let's go to the next page, which is US mailing address. Remember that if you are filing this form, adjustment of status is only applicable to those who are currently in the US. So it's expected you have a US mailing address. And this is where there will be correspondence, mail sent to you, You want to make sure you put in the correct one. So if it's in care of you, the petitioner, you put the name. If it's in the care of someone else, you put the full name of the person, right? Now, 12B, street number and name, include that. If it's an apartment or site, you want to check that. City or town, put it in. 12E, state. If you click the down button, you'll be able to select which state you reside. And you can as well put the zip code. All right, so here says alternative and or save mailing address. Now, this is for different set of people. If you are applying based on the Violence Against Women Act, then you want to put in that as well. If it doesn't apply to you, you can leave it blank. Now, let's go to still on page 2 of 20, Social Security card. Question 14. Has the Social Security Administration, SSA, ever officially issued a Social Security card to you? So if you have ever received a Social Security card, you want to indicate it as yes. If not, you put no. Now, if you answered yes, that means you have a Social Security card, or perhaps you have a Social Security number. So you want to type it in on question number 15, provide your Social Security number. Now, assuming you do not have, say for example, you are a dependent, like someone on F2 visa, depending on someone that is initially on an F1 visa. As an F2 visa holder, most cases, you do not have a Social Security number. So if you do not have, and now you are trying to adjust your status as a derivative, there is an opportunity for you to answer question 16 and 17. So you could have a Social Security number once your application is approved. So do you want the Social Security number to issue you a Social Security card? If you want to put yes. Again, it's not a must. If you don't want at this stage, you can simply put no. Now, consent for disclosure. I authorize disclosure of information from this application to the Social Security Administration as required for the purpose of assigning me a Social Security number. So you're going to put yes as well. All right. So next is on recent immigration history. Recent immigration history. All right, if you are in this country, you definitely have an immigration history. So provide the information for item numbers 18 to 24 if you last entered the United States using a passport or travel document. For most of you, when you enter the US, of course, you use a travel document, which is mostly a passport, your international passport issued by your own country, right? So you want to put in the information here. Question 18, passport number. So you put in your passport number. And if you have a travel document number as well, you want to put it. If you don't have it, you can put not applicable. 20, expiration date of this passport or travel document. Of course, you'll find that on your passport page. So you put the expiration date in month, day, and year format. 21, country that issued this passport or travel document. Of course, your country of origin that owns the passport, you want to put it there. 22, non-immigrant visa number from this passport, if any. Now, take note, say, for example, those of you that enter the US on, let's say, visit visa, B1 or B2, or those of you that enter through the student route, F1, or, student dependent F2, you have a visa given to you to that effect, which is on your passport. That visa has a visa number. You want to put that number here. Let's assume that that passport has expired. It doesn't matter. You still have to indicate it here. Place of last arrival into the US state. So when you enter the US, you arrive in a particular state, take note of that and put the city or town. You can indicate the state and the date of last arrival. You want to put it there also. You can still find these dates on the stamp on your passport, or if you have your form I-94, which you can as well access it online. Just type in Google Form I-94, it will come up and you can put in your passport details and you will see your record. So put the date of last arrival that shows there. On to the next, which is page 3 of 20, still on part 1. When I last arrived in the United States, I-25A was inspected at a port of entry and admitted as, for example, exchange visitor waived through temporary worker, students, etc. So if that is the case, you want to check that in, right? And check anyone that applies to you, if it's 25A, 25B, 25C, or 25D. Now, the next one says, if you were issued a Form I-94 arrival departure record number, you also want to fill it in here. So like I mentioned about I-94 earlier, you can find it online for free, and you can answer this question. Question 26A. Form I-94 arrival departure record number. You will find this on that form. You want to put in the number, expiration date of authorized stay shown on Form I-94. Yeah, you're going to have the expiration date. For example, if you're on a visit visa, to appear there. If you're a student, for example, most likely you will see D/S, which is duration of status. So you put that there, the one that applies to you. 26C. Status on Form I-94, for example, class of admission. Again, that's like if your class of admission is B1 or B2, for example, visits, or F1 students, F2 student dependent, things like that. You want to put it here in 26C. Use the one that applies to you, that shows on your Form I-94. Question 27. What is your current immigration status? If it has changed since your arrival, say for example, you came in through a visit visa that was B1, right? Or let's say B2, and you have since changed to a student on F1 or F2. That means it has changed. You want to put it there. But if it has not changed, if it's still the same thing, you put the same thing in 27. And provide your name exactly as it appears on your Form I-94, if any. So on your Form I-94, most likely your name on your passport will be the same name you will find on the form. So the family name, the given name, first name, and the middle name if you have one. Still on page 3 of 20. Now we move to part 2. Part 2. It says, application type or filing category. So you as an applicant, whether you are the principal beneficiary or you are a derivative, you belong to one of these. And that's what you want to fill right now, the one that belongs to you. And that's on page 3. So we have 1A. Please make sure you read this part clearly. And family-based, if you are in the family-based category, employment-based, so for EB1A, EB2, and IW, which you filled from I-140, for example, so that belongs to you. So you want to probably tick the box there. And if that's not yours, look through this section and tick one box that applies to you. Still on part 2, now page 4. So we have question number 2, and question number 2 says, are you applying for adjustments based on the Immigration and Nationality Act, Section 245I? Yes or no? Now, this part might be a little bit confusing to some persons. What do they mean here? So let me just explain that this section is a provision in the U.S. immigration law that offers a path for certain individuals who are in the United States to apply for a green card, that is adjustment of status. even if they enter the country illegally or they have violated the terms of their visa. So there are some of you whom you have already violated your visa and you want to make sure you comply as yes or no. Take note, even if you say yes or no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your approval of your adjustment of status. It doesn't affect at all. Okay. So if you have not violated any of this, then you also want to indicate it, and there is no problem to that. If you have violated your terms of stay before now, you want to indicate it as well, and there is a further action that needs to be taken on that, which we're going to explain later on. So in essence, if you have not violated your stay in the United States, you just put no. If you have, you put yes. All right, still on page 4 of 20, information about your immigration category. Now, if you are the principal applicant, provide the following information. So, receipt number, underlining petition, if any. Like I said again, you can find these in either your receipt notice from I-797C or your approval notice from I-797. You will see the receipt number. For some immigration category, mostly starts with letter I. I for iron. So you want to put in that all the numbers. Then you have your priority date stated on that form as well. That's question number 4. You put the priority date for underlying petition. Take note, even as of now, that it's current for the EB1A category, which means you can file for your adjustment of status immediately upon the approval notice. Even at that, there is still a priority date on that approval notice. So put the priority date. And if you're in the EB2NIW category, still put your priority date. Now, for the next section, if you are the principal applicant, you don't need to fill question 5A to 9. However, if you're a derivative, you need to fill that in. Say you are a derivative, husband or wife of the principal applicant, or a child, you are helping your child to fill it. You also want to put in the principal applicant information here. So you put in the principal applicant information then. If you are a derivative, the family name, the last name, the first name, the middle name, the principal applicant A number, the principal applicant date of birth, the receipt number, and the priority date. Only if you are a derivative. But you as the principal applicant, you don't need to fill 5A to 9. Then we go to part 3, which is additional information about you. Additional information about you. So this part says, have you ever applied for an immigration visa to obtain permanent resident status at the U.S. Embassy or U.S. Consulate abroad? It's going to be different for everyone. If you have done that before, then you put yes. Remember, it's immigrant visa, not a non-immigrant visa. So if it's a non-immigrant visa, for example, the B1, B2 visit visa or the student visa, they are all non-immigrant visa. So doesn't apply to you, right? But if your case is you've applied for an immigrant visa before, you want to indicate it as well. Then put in further information. If yours is yes, then you want to put in 2A, the city, the country, the decision, the dates of decision, 2A to question number 4 on page 4 of 20. So now we go to the next page, which is still part 3. Here we have address history. Provide a physical address for everywhere you have lived during the last 5 years. So remember, this form is for those that are currently in the US. So you want to start with the US address. Even if you've changed different addresses in the US, you want to indicate it here, right? So you fill in everything. And if you have more than what is provided here, never mind, you can fill the rest on, I think, part 14, which is the last part of this form. It gives you the opportunity for extended answers that you can put in the section. So we have 5A to 6B is for one address detail that you have to fill in, starting with the street number and name. 5A to 6B, date of residence, from when to when. So you want to put in all of this. Physical address 2, if you have another address where you've stayed in the last 5 years, you also want to put that in. Even if it's in the US or outside the US this time around, you want to put that in. You also have the physical address 3. Yeah, so you also fill in that. And that is it about the address history. Now for employment history as well, you also want to put that in. If you're working in the US, regardless of the type of work, whether it is full-time or part-time for the past 5 years, you also want to indicate it. Employer 1, comprising of the name of employer, the detailed address, your occupation, and the duration from when to when. Employer number 2, if you have more employers you have worked for, that's on page 6 now. You also want to fill it in for employer 2. And if you have, here it says, provide your most recent employment outside of the United States, if not already listed above. So if you also have one within the 5-year space and most recent outside of the US, you also want to fill it in. And that's that for that part. Still on part 4, you now have information about your parents. So this is going to be different again. If you are the principal applicant, you have your parents' details, you put it in. If you are the dependent, you have a different parent's name, you put it in. If you are a child and you are helping your child to fill it, you in that case will be the parent, right? You want to fill it correctly. So it's very simple, just the last name, the first name, say your parents' one, father, and the middle name. And if their name has ever changed from birth, you want to indicate it as well. If it has not, it's not applicable to you. Question 3, their date of birth, their sex, male or female, city or town of birth, country of birth. You can easily put all that in. Current city or town of residence, if they are still living, they are not dead, they are probably still living somewhere, you want to put it in. And question number 8, that is for parents 1. For parents 2, maybe your mother, you want to put in your mother details as well. And that is it. So we go to part 5 on page 7. What is your current marital status? If you are single, never married, or you are married, divorced, widowed, you want to indicate the right box. If you are married, is your spouse a current member of the U.S. Armed Forces? If it doesn't apply to you, not applicable. If it's yes or no, you put in the right one. And question 3 says, how many times have you ever been married? Some have married before, they divorced, they married again. So you want to indicate the number of times. If it's 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you put it there. It doesn't affect your approval. Then we have information about your current marriage. If you have claimed that you are presently married, then you want to put in your spouse legal name, fill in everything. If your spouse doesn't have an A number for question 5, put not applicable. The date of birth, the date of marriage to current spouse, you put all the details there, place of marriage, current spouse, place of birth. Question 10, is your current spouse applying with you? So yeah, you want to indicate if you, the principal applicant, and your derivative spouse, you are applying together. If it's applying with you, you want to put yes. If he or she is not applying with you, you put no, right? Now we can go to page 8. Page 8. On page 8, we have information about your marital status. So in this, if you claim that you've initially married before, you want to put in those information as well, prior marriages. If you don't need to fill that part, or you can just put not applicable. Now, part 6, now to part 6 on page 8. And it says information about your children. Information about your children. So if you have children or you have just one child, you want to put in the information there. It says, take note, indicate the total number of all living children, including adult sons and daughters that you have. And read further, it says, the term children includes all biological or legally adopted children, as well as current stepchildren of any age, whether born in the US or other countries, whether they are married or unmarried, living with you or elsewhere, and includes any missing children and those born to you outside of marriage. So it doesn't matter the number, it doesn't matter, just make sure you tell the truth. So if you, as is explanatory enough, so if you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you want to put it there. And accordingly, you want to put each details of the child, child 1, child 2, and you are also indicating if the child will be applying with you or not. So if yes, if no, child 2, child 3. If you have more than 3 children, fill in the details of the remaining children in the last section of this form, right? On to part 7, which is biographic information. And this is quite easy. Your ethnicity, whichever you belong. If you are Hispanic or Latino or you are not, you want to indicate that. Question 2, your race. If you are white, Asian, Black, or African American, you want to indicate that. Check your height in feet and in inches, your weight in pounds, put in the numbers, your eye color, if it's black, if it's blue, your hair color, if it's black, if it's gray. That's question number 6. You want to put it there. So that part is easy. Then we go to part 8. Part 8, which is general eligibility and inadmissibility grounds. And for that, have you ever been a member of, involved in, or in any way associated with any organization, association, fund, foundation, party, club, society, or similar group in the United States, or in any other location in the world, including any military service? So if it applies to you, you put yes, and you fill in the details of the organization. If it's no, you put no, then you don't have to fill in any organizational details. If you have more than 3 organizations you belong to, you want to add the remaining section at the end of this form. All right, so still on page 10, and we have question 14 to 24C. 14 to 24C. Now, this is going to be different for everyone. I'm not going to go through all of this, but just read it through. If it applies to you, you say yes. If it doesn't apply to you, you say no. And remember, the instruction says, choose the answer that you think is correct. If you answer yes to any questions, or if you answer no, but are unsure of your answer, provide an explanation of the event and circumstances in the space provided in part 14, that's towards the end or the end part of the form, you want to provide, if you want to, provide further details. It says, for example, let's take a look at 14 and 15. Have you ever been denied admission to the United States? Say, for example, some of you have initially applied for visit visas and you were denied. Yeah, that's talking about you were denied admission, maybe at the point of entry, you were not allowed to come in. You want to put it there and you explain further. Have you ever been denied a visa to the United States? Maybe you applied for a visa in your home country and you were not granted. You also want to indicate that if it's yes or no. It doesn't affect your approval status. Okay, so read through all of that and fill that in correctly. Then we have the Criminal Act and violations still on page 10. Again, you have from question 25 is a lot, 25 to about, let's say, 60. So my advice is that you read through each of these. Don't just say no, 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 no. You want to read through each of these just in case. Be careful to be sure you are filling the right thing. So if mine is no, I'm going to put no. For example, have you ever been arrested, cited, charged, or detained for any reason? For me, it is no. So I'm going to put no. If yours is yes, you want to put it there. So make sure you tick either yes or no for any of that. And that will take us onto the next part, which is now on page 13, public charge. And I need to explain this part. This part actually, it's a new addition to this latest edition. It wasn't on the previous edition. So please, let's look at this closely. What does it mean? Public charge. Question 61. Are you subject to the public charge ground of inadmissibility under inner section 212A4? Is it yes or no? Now, what does it mean? Now, public charge, take note, pertains to a provision in the U.S. immigration law that is related to financial self-sufficiency. Now, under this section 212A4, a person is considered inadmissible if they are likely to become a public charge. Now, in immigration terms, a public charge refers to an individual who is primarily dependent on the government for subsistence, as demonstrated by the receipt of certain types of public assistance. When determining if someone is likely to become a public charge, the USCIS, the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services, considers a variety of factors, including the person's age, the health of the person, the family status, the assets the person possessed, the resources, the financial status, education level, and skills the person possesses. In general, before we continue, take note that the public charge ground of inadmissibility at this Immigration Act 212A4 applies to an applicant who is applying for a visa, admission, or adjustment of status. It applies. A non-citizen applying for a visa, admission, or adjustment of status must establish that they are not inadmissible under any ground of inadmissibility, including the public charge ground. I haven't explained all this, which I believe is clear enough. Again, depending on your category, you want to choose the right one. So, for example, those who are adjusting status, EB2 NIW or EB1A, you have to answer yes to this. And if you answer yes, you have to provide further information. starting with question 62. Okay. So it says, are you subject? Okay, no, I beg your pardon. Question 62 now says, what is the size of your household? What is the size of your household? Your household in this case comprises of what you can see on the screen. Please take a look at it. That's the size of your household. And in this case, you, the applicant, which is the primary person applying for this benefit, your household comprises of the spouse, if you are legally married and living together, if you have your parents, you're living with you, if you also have siblings who are unmarried and they financially depend on you and they're also living with you, they are part of your household size. You have children that resides with you, and you have any other person that is living with you and, or not living with you, I mean, but they are listed as a dependent on your federal income tax return, or in the case, those that list you as a dependent, they are part of your household. So you want to count that number and answer the question properly for question number 62. 63 says, indicate your annual household income. So you, the principal applicant, how much do you earn? So you also want to indicate the one that belongs to you. Okay. And we have question 64, which says, identify the total value of your household assets. So any assets you have, savings, your savings account, your checking account, some of you have CDs, investments, things like that. You want to estimate the value, legal assets though, not the ones that are illegal. You want to estimate that and put it in. That's for question 64. Then on to the next part, which is 65. It says, identify the total value of your household liabilities, including both secured and unsecured liabilities. So if you have any liabilities, you have debts, you've incurred, you have mortgage payments, you're making things like that, you also want to indicate that. And question 66, what is the highest grade or level of school you have completed? If yours is doctorate degree, you put it there. If yours is just master's, you put it. Okay, and that is it. Question 67 says, list your certifications, licenses, skills obtained through work experience and educational certificate. So anyone that you possess or you have, you can find it. If you have a good CV, you can find it there. Just copy and paste there. And that is it, just to show your skills level and your education level. Now, for question 68 to the last part, if it applies to you, again, you want to fill it. And if it doesn't, then you don't have to say yes. It's going to be no. For example, 68A, have you ever received supplemental security income, SSI, temporary assistance for needy families? If yours is yes, you put yes. If yours is no, you put no. I think no, though, might be more appropriate if that is the case for you. However, if you say yes, that doesn't mean maybe at some point before you've utilized this service. If you put yes, that doesn't mean you won't be approved, but you want to back it up with other parts that you feel that currently shows your income level, your education and the likes. 68B, the same thing applies. Have you ever received long-term institutionalization at government expense? You want to fill up parts. For all these parts, for most of you doing the EB29W or EB1A, you probably want to put no if it doesn't apply to you. Then provide more details in 68C and 68D if it applies to you. And still on part 8. You also want to answer all these yes or no type of question, which you have to read to see which one applies to you. Have you ever failed or refused to attend or to remain in attendance, attending removal proceeding filed against you on or after April 1st, 1997? You want to put it yes or no. For most of you, your answer is probably going to be no to all of this. Be careful to read it though. 69B says, if your answer to item number 69A is yes, do you believe you had reasonable cause? So it's dependent on 69A response. So please make sure you read all this through and fill in the correct details. And that takes us to part 9. Part 9 says accommodations for individuals with disabilities and impairments. So if that's your category, you want to read through and put in the correct information. If it doesn't apply to you, move forward to part 10. Part 10, which is on page 16 of 20. Yeah, it's a lot, but we're almost done. Now, applicant statements. Select the box for either item number 1A or 1B. If applicable, select the box for item number 2, if applicable. So 1A says, I can read and understand English, and I have read and understand every question and instruction on this application and my answer to every question. So if that's the case, you're doing this by yourself, you speak English, you understand English, then you have to choose 1A. For some of you, that you do not understand English and you have used an interpreter who assisted you and read all this to you, you want to choose 1B instead. And at my request, the preparer named in part 12, some of you use someone that prepared this for you. The preparer is different from it's different, or it might be the same person as the interpreter, and take note of that. We have the applicant's contact information. This is for you. You're the primary applicant. You want to put in your telephone number, if you have a mobile number, and your email address. And still on part 10, you have 6A on page 17 of 20, applicant signature. Take note, do not put an electronic signature here. No. When you are done filling this form, you can print everything out and append your hand signature. And you want to put the date as well. Part 11, for those of you that use interpreter and you've checked the box for interpreter, have the interpreter put in their details, or you put in their details here. And they also have to sign and put the dates of signature. For part 12, for those of you that use a preparer, which is different from you, if you are doing it by yourself, you are not the preparer. Please take note of that. You want to put in, it says contact information, declaration, and signature of the person preparing this application, if other than the applicant. So you are classified as the applicant. If you are using a preparer, you want to have their details here as well, from 1A on to 6. And it continues if it applies to you for 7A or 7B. For example, if the preparer is an Anthony or not, you also want to indicate that there. And again, the preparer signature and date will be there. Part 13, I swear or affirm and certify under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that I know that the content of this form, I-485 application to register permanent residence or adjust status subscribed by me, including the correction made to this application. If you have that, you want to sign this when called for interview. So take notes. Do not sign or fill this part 13, not until you are asked to do so. And part 14, like I've been saying, this will be the end part. If you have some answers that you could not add to the initially provided section, and you want to indicate them here, indicate the page number, the part number, the item number, and provide the corresponding answers. And if this page is not sufficient, you want to print out additional pages of this page 20 of 20, and again, put all that in. And I think we've done a pretty good job on how to fill this form. And all I can say is that please make sure you fill this form correctly, and do your best to ensure someone else also probably help you to go through it, to correct if any, or points you to maybe any mistake you might have made. And that is it about form I-485 filling. This is going to be the end of the video. Thank you for watching thus far. Indeed, it's a long workshop, but I hope it really helps you. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Follow us on Instagram and visit our website. Check all these details on the in the description section. And I will see you again in this adjustment of status playlist category, another video. Take care and bye-bye.